Hello there, this is the classwork for lesson 6. When you are dividing fractions, you are asking yourself what is being broken up. That will determine the dividend in the problem or the first number in the equation. You're either finding the number of groups or what's in each group. So if the second number or the divisor is lower than the first number, you're asking yourself how many of that divisor are in the dividend. If the second number or your divisor is larger than your dividend, then you're breaking that dividend into groups and asking yourself what's in each group. So for this problem, it starts off by saying, you know how to divide a whole number by a unit fraction. For example, you can think of 6 divided by 1/4 as how many 1/4 are in 6. Using a number line, you can divide 6 into 4s and count them to see there are 24 fourths in 6. So what they did is they represented the 6 or their dividend. Then they needed to know how many 1/4 were in 6. So they broke each of their whole number into 4. See how there's 4 different pieces. And then if you were to count 0 to 6, you would see that there are 24 pieces. Okay, same thing applies for this problem on the bottom. You're breaking up that 6 yards of ribbon into 3/4 slices. This time your limit is 6, but you are grabbing 3 out of 4 at a time. And you're counting how many pieces or how many 3/4 were in 6. For this problem, it says Corey wants to pour 3/4 of a quart of juice equally into 6 glasses. So this time you are actually breaking 3/4 up into 6 groups. This means he needs to divide 3/4 into 6 equal parts. You can represent the problem with the area model. First, you show that there's 3/4 quarter of juice. Then you're breaking it up into 6 glasses. When you break it up into 6, you're no longer dealing with fourths. You're now dealing with 24 boxes. If you were to count all these boxes, now we're in 24ths. If you notice, each glass has 3 of those 24ths. That's why 3/4 divided by 6 is 3/24. Once you reduce that fraction and divide the top and the bottom number by 3, you will get a simplified fraction of 1/8. Okay, so it just breaks down that problem for you, and it says 3/4 of a quart of juice divided equally into 6 glasses means Corey will pour 1/8 quart of juice into each glass. And then it shows you how to keep, change, flip, or the equation associated with the problem. This last problem says use the number line to show and explain why 4/10 divided by 2 and 4/10 times 1/2 both equal 2/10. Okay, so my limits of my diagram. Hold on, I need to open this pen, I'm sorry. Okay, so we're breaking up the 4/10, okay, into 2 pieces. Okay, so we're going to count how many pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're already dealing with tens. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to stop that at the 4. And when we split it in half, or into 2, divided into 2, we see that there are 2/10 in each group. Or if we have 4/10 times 1/2, we have 4/10, and we are taking half of that amount. So when we take half of 4/10, we're still taking our 2/10. So that's why you can keep, change, flip. 4/10 times 1/2 is the same thing as 4/10 divided by 2. It's just explaining why keep, change, flip works. When you multiply the numerators and the denominators together, you get 4/20. When you reduce that, if the top number can go into the bottom number, that's the greatest common factor. Okay, or they're trying to get you to do 2/10. Okay, you could reduce that further to 1/5, but it's just asking you to prove that it is 2/10. So the same thing applies. Okay, 4/10 times 2, 1/2, 4 times 1, 10 times 2. So you can just write that. Next page. Kate has 2/3 yards of fabric to make small flags. Each flag requires 1/6 yard of fabric. How many flags can she make? You need to find out how many 1/6 are in 2/3. Okay. The number lines below are divided into thirds. 2/3 on the top number line represents 2/3 of the fabric. So I'm going to label that 2/3. Okay. And we're trying to see how many 1/6 are in 2/3. So now we have to break this into 6 pieces. So to break this into 6 pieces, I'm just going to add or break these in half. Now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm circling 1/6 at a time. Therefore, there are 4 1/6 in 2/3. Okay. Look at the bottom number. How many 6 are there in 2/3? We're going to put 4. How many flags can Kate make? 4. 2/3 divided by 1/6 is 4. And 2/3 times 6 over 1 is 4. Now we're on this other page. It says Kevin has 6 cups of flour. It takes 3/8 cup of flour to make 1 cake. How many cakes can Kevin make? You need to find out how many 3/8 are in 6. Do you think the number of cakes Kevin can make is greater than or less than 6? So, do you think that there's going to be at least one of these that goes into 1 cake? Yes. You know your number is going to be higher than 6 because there's going to be more than 6 3/8 that fit into 6 if 6 is less than 1. So, if the divisor is less than the dividend, the quotient will be higher. Represent 6 cups with 6 rectangles. 4 rectangles are shown below. Draw 2 more rectangles. Okay. Circle and count groups of 3/8 in this model. How many did you circle? So we have to break them up into eighths. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we're going to grab 3 of them at a time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So I see 16 groups of 3/8 in that 6 groups. How many did you circle? 16. How many 3/8 cups of flour are in 6 cups of flour? 16. And then 6 over 1 times 8 over 3. 48 divided by 3 equals 16. That's just the equation that matches your diagram. To solve 5 divided by 1/2, write 5 as a fraction with a denominator of 2 and think how many halves are in 10 halves. 10 halves divided by 1/2 equals 10. Use the same reasoning to find 8/6 divided by 2/3. So 8/6 as a fraction with a denominator of 3. So we're going to divide this by 3. We're going to divide this by 2 to get it 3. 6 divided by 2 equals 3. 8 divided by 2 equals 4. So that's why it turned into your 4/3 divided by 2/3. How many 2/3 are there in 4/3? So there's 2. Write 2/3 as a fraction with a denominator of 6. So what did I do to 3 to get to 6? I multiplied it by 2, so this is 4/6. 8/6 divided by 4/6. Think how many 4/6 are in 8/6. So 2. Okay. Okay, you were dividing, let me see, oh yeah, it's just these 2 pages left. Okay, look at the model below and write the division equation that the model represents. So you're asking yourself what's being broken up to find that first number. I know the limits of my diagram are 5, 6. 5, 6 divided by, let me see what they're circling at a time. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 pieces. So they're circling 1/12. Okay. Explain the quotient. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the answer is 10/12. Sam said that 3/2 divided by 1/4 equals 3/8. Draw a model and use words to explain why Sam's statement is not reasonable. Okay, so we have 3/2. This is 2/2. This is 3/2 at this line. We're trying to see how many fourths are in 3/2. So we have to break them into fourths. How many fourths are in 3/8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. Okay? 3/2 divided by 1/4 equals 6. We're going to use our keep, change, flip. Keep the dividend, change your division to multiplication, and flip the divisor. 12 divided by 2 equals 6. Okay, show that 2 divided by 4/6 equals 3 by using a model, then explain why the answer is greater than the number you started with. So we're trying to see how many 4/6 are in 2. We know that there's going to be at least 2 in there because 4/6 is less than 1. So 2 over 1 times 6 over 4 equals 12 over 4, which equals 3. Okay, if you needed to draw a model, you would have 2. Let's just make a a number line. This is 1, this is 2. Then we're breaking it up into sixths by making 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we're having to see how many 4/6 are in 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to circle 4 at a time. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now we're on this page. It says Greg made 2/3 gallon of lemonade and plans to share it equally among 4 friends. How much lemonade will each friend get? Okay, so we're breaking up the 2/3 divided by 4. Okay, we're breaking this up into 4 groups. Sometimes you're trying to see how many of this number goes into the dividend. Sometimes you're breaking the dividend into a certain number of groups. So this becomes 2/3 times 1/4, which becomes 2 over 12, which becomes 1/6. 1/6 of a gallon. Part B. Okay, Keisha says she plans to run 4 miles this week. If she runs 2/3 of a mile each day, how many days will it take her to run 4 miles? We're breaking up the 4. We're dividing it by 2/3. Do we think our number is going to be greater than 4 or less than 4? Obviously, it can fit more than 4 because this is less than 1. So our number is going to be greater than 4. Because the divisor is less than 1. Let's double check. 4 over 1 times 3 over 2. 12 over 2 equals 6. Remember, fractions are nothing but fancy division problems. Use your model to explain how to find the quotient and what the quotient means. Okay, so we have 4, 1, 2, 3. Let's say this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4. Okay, we're dividing it into thirds. 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And we're grabbing 2/3 at a time. Equals 6. So that means that she can run 6 miles in 1 week. Okay. Good luck with the classwork. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask.